Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Passionpreneur series. I'm your host, Brandy, and you guys are in for a treat today. This is what I'm going to call your bonus episode. I have been so fortunate through this series to meet some really amazing entrepreneurs, experts in various fields, and just thought leaders. And they have in turn been so kind to refer me on to other people that we have to hear from, we have to talk to. And so today's guest is one of those people. So, Klyn Elsbury, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, your energy today, your wisdom that you're going to drop on us. I know it's going to be good. Yes. Kaylin and I just met, oh my gosh, a week and a half ago, if that long. And we met through a mutual new friend, Deb Gabor. So Deb, if you're watching, thank you. Thank you. And I honestly just had an opportunity to dive into your background and all that you have to offer, Kaylin, a couple days ago, and I've just been blown away. And it's so fitting for this series, this launch in particular, what's going on in the world, and just everything. I love that you speak on leadership, resiliency, change, and it's not just for the salespeople. It's not just for the CEOs. It's not just for individual departments, but this applies to anyone and everyone in business, in their life, how they can really use these tools that you're teaching. So thank you again for coming onto the show and sharing. So just a little background, you guys. I'm going to have Kaylin take it away and give her background history fully. To do credit, but I just want to acknowledge a few things. You are an author and a speaker, a keynote speaker, and you were actually awarded was it keynote of the year, an award recently?
I mean, like there's awards. It's been like the highest rated, the
Yeah.
best performer. You just get so many of them, you don't keep track, right?
I think that's amazing. I mean, speaking is definitely not something for the faint of heart. And when you can get on that stage and take control and guide that audience through a story, that blows me away.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
also are best-selling author of a book called I Am, The Untold Story of Success. Yes, there it is. Which I definitely want you to dive into more because from my understanding, you wrote this from your hospital bed. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
So
So
mark that down. We're gonna come back to that. And in your business this year, with everything going on, you hit 7 figures. Okay, like I said, people,
through a partnership, but yeah.
this is a 30-minute episode. It might be a little longer, just going to warn you,
Might
but
be.
we're going to be covering a lot of really good stuff. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to and have you take it away.
No.
Yeah, I would
It's
love
funny.
to.
Every time my fiance compliments me, I'm like, go on.
It
So
was more, trust me.
I don't care. If we have any listeners left, go on. Yeah, no, so the rumors are true. I have a condition called cystic fibrosis, and that's usually, I don't dare say the elephant in the room, but in a way, yeah, it's the credentials. So let's talk just straight numbers, y'all, like straight up facts. I was diagnosed with it, 24 hours old. Spent the first 6 months of my life in the neonatal intensive care. In 2001, diagnosed with diabetes through something called ketoacidosis, which is a coma. And my blood sugar hit 1,236. They estimated I would have permanent brain damage. And every year since I was a baby, spring and fall, I'm at least hospitalized for 2 weeks at a time. We estimate somewhere between 65 to 67 hospitalizations I've been through. And so that's straight up resiliency, because when you get hospitalized, your lung function goes from wherever it is in the moment. So I'm usually in the 70s down to as low for me in the 20s. And so you lose all your muscle mass, you lose your weight, you lose your endurance, you lose your cardiovascular fitness, you lose your friendships, and you go onto a hospital isolation ward. And from that ward, you come to terms with your own demons and your battles and what's going on in your mind. And that lifestyle led me to the singular question of why is it some people are ridiculously successful And that can be monetary, that can be successes as far as trusting their gut, having a well-known social network, having the people in the right places that you can support on and that can support you. So success can be many things, but what is the difference between those who have achieved the level of success that they ultimately want? And what is the difference between those people who, when they took their last breath, they say that they were grateful for their experiences, but that there was something more to what they wanted. And that was the question that kept me up at night in the ward, and started me on the journey of writing that book. And I wrote it, it's almost like a diary memoir, with a little bit of business tactics inside of it, whether that's sales or gratitude or different types of things I've had to learn about business. And I drew the parallels between what it means to start a company and what it means to live in hospitals. And I thought my mom would read it. She did. And then it also hit enough traction that it became an international bestseller that year. So I was
Wow.
absolutely blown away by the support of it. And that in itself launched the speaking and the rest that I do. It all started with one idea, one book, because I was just tired of watching TV in the hospital. There had to be more.
I love that.
Yeah.
And how did you market it? How did you get it out? I mean, aside from your mom reading it, like, how did people know that you were even creating this masterpiece?
Brilliant question. I don't think I've ever been asked that, but it's thank you. So here's the thing about the CF culture. So we always have to do treatments. I do on average about an hour treatments a day, now that I'm healthier. But when you get sick, it can be 6, 7, 8 hours of treatments a day. And during your treatments, you're hooked up to, I actually have one for you all. Hold on. You're hooked up to a nebulizer. So you're breathing out of this device. And, you can't really talk to people through this. It doesn't work. The medicine gets out. And so the only thing you can do is really get online or watch TV or play video games. And for me, my break through my treatments was to get online and to talk to others through social media. And it just became the dialogue. Hey, what are you working on today? And I was like, I think I'm going to write a book, and then I got on LinkedIn, and that was how I started finding the people to interview for it. But it was really written during my treatment times because I didn't have a heck of a lot going on.
Amazing.
Yeah. Like, it's amazing what you find to do when you got nothing.
Exactly. I mean, to me, that's just a sign of, like, no matter what's going on, you have two ways of looking at an opportunity. Your situation. It could be an opportunity to do something positive with it and grow and create something, or not.
Or not. Yeah.
Simple
And
as
it fascinates me what it is, because okay, so part of the teaching that I do, right? And it just illustrates your point. So at any given time, I'm going to say this really quickly. Y'all love this, go back and rewatch it or take an online course. It's free from my site. But at any given time, we're given 2 million bits of information per second. We're processing it, right? And our brains can only consciously hold 7 plus minus bits of information per second. And there's, again, this demo that I'm giving for right now, it's a 45-minute explanation. I'm just glossing over it. But basically, you've got these 2 million bits and your brain is sorting it out to only get 7 plus minus bits of information per second. And based on what we've already seen in our lives, we have a part of our brain that's called the reticular activation system. It's a pencil-like structure, and it's in the back of our skull, above our spinal cord. And this is the thing that, like, when you buy a new Prius, you see Priuses everywhere.
yes.
And so what's interesting is, like, as our neurons wire together, they fire together, and they really cement our theories. And what fascinates me, to your point, is there becomes a point in everybody's life where enough of those neurons have wired together or fired together, and then things that become the decision, it seems like it's in the blink of an eye, but it's a repetitive motion that we've noticed that our reticular activation system's picked up on. So when we have things like limiting beliefs, and I don't even like that term because everybody uses it. So one of mine, I talk about all the time, like, I never think I'm pretty enough. It's weird. I know we don't need to get into the daddy issues and that, whatever the heck it is. But that started at a young age, and then it was reinforced every time the bully picked on me in high school, or, you know what I mean? Whatever the thing is, when the guy broke up with me, whatever. And so then that activated the reticular, and now I make a choice where it's not even a choice anymore. It's just like, I know I'm not pretty. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing. But we all, you see what I'm saying though? Like, we all had that choice, and the longer it becomes reinforced, that's what our belief system becomes. And so I made a choice, and then now I look to validate that choice with my belief system. And that, to me, when you say, ultimately we have a choice, what do?
Right.
Well, what we do, what the path we take mentally is based on everything we've taken before that has seemed to work out. And that's how the decisions are made. So it seemed like a long, windy answer. But basically, the moral of the story is I totally agree with you.
Okay. I think I'm following you. So, for example, let's apply this to our audience, who, for the most part, they're entrepreneurs. I call them baby entrepreneurs because they're pretty new still to their business, 1 to 2 years in.
Yeah,
They may or may not have teams at this point, and a small percentage of them are still side hustlers. Like they haven't even fully converted yet. So, there's a ton of beliefs there. There's a ton of things that on a daily basis, I say for entrepreneurs, we are daily recommitting ourselves to doing whatever it is. You have to.
you do.
There's so much out there that you can easily just say, okay, I'm done. This is it. I can't take anymore. I'm not cut out for this. So, what are some tools, techniques that you would give to someone, who's right in front of you, who's saying, like, I don't really know if I'm cut out for this. I don't know what I'm doing, especially right now in my business.
Yeah. Well, first of all, no, nobody does. I always thought, like, I want to be an adulty adult. These are the people who get the fresh sponges and their houses are clean and they manage to keep it all together with their two
Yeah.
kids. Kids. Trust me, they're all messes too. Um, except Deb Gabor. She's got it going on. I hate her for that. No. So here's really what I'd say when I go through the mental mapping system. And I love that you're like, let's apply it, because it can get a little cerebral. It's all, it's really difficult. And I'm explaining a 45-minute concept in 3 minutes. What I would say is I want you all to, and by the way, I've been where you are. I just want y'all to know that. And in some ways I'm still where you are. What I would say is there's a question about, am I cut out for this? I don't think that's the question we want to ask. I think the question we want to ask is, do we want to be cut out for this? Because if it's what you want, and unequivocally it's what you want, you'll go for it. So let's take the analogy of the beauty side, because it's easy to equate it to beauty, and then we can draw that parallel, because everybody can relate to a time when they didn't feel like they were enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is do I want to feel beautiful? Well, it sounds silly. Do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to feel beautiful? Here's the distinction. In some moments, heck yes, I do. And in that moment, don't you think I can pull myself together long enough to feel pretty inside? Yeah, we all do. Even, we get the new haircut, we get the eyeliner, the makeup, whatever the thing is that we get to do that extra thing to make us feel more beautiful. Or the question is, do I want to feel beautiful today? And it's like, nope, hair up in a bun in my sweatpants, like chilling with the dog all day. Like, I don't care if I even brush my teeth. So it's like the choice in our business. Let's take this and apply it to business now. Because it's always easier to get like a really out there concept and then to apply it.
Right.
In our businesses, do we want to be an entrepreneur? Well, the days where we make sales and we create that new relationship and we have that great collaboration, that's the day we want to be an entrepreneur. So we own that path. Now there's other days sales are kind of slumping. We're questioning our place. We're questioning our judgment. We're questioning if we're in the right business, if we have what it takes. On those days, chances are you may not want to be an entrepreneur. So it comes down to, remember we talked about how your brain maps stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What is the choice you want to make that day? Because your responses will be dictated by that choice. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to succeed in your business and you want to have a profitability that you're proud of, that supports you and your family and your loved ones, and collaborations that make you feel deeply fulfilled in that situation, make that choice. Activate that reticular activation system. Affirmations can help. It's either affirmations or prayer, whatever works for you, boo-boo. And then from there, that sets up the intention for the day. And over time, enough days strung together like that, you have a business that you're proud of.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. So what are some of the things that you're using? Well, first off, do you have a team or are you solo?
I had a team, got rid of the team, had a team. So I do a lot of contractors.
Yeah.
and a lot of independence. So I found, because again, you got to do something that's, there's a term called Pono, and Pono is from the Hawaiian society, the ancient Hawaiians. And Pono means you're right with yourself. Like you stop lying to yourself about the things that you know matter. And my journey the last 2 years, because entrepreneurship's tough, like the roller coasters y'all are about to go on, I've been there. And I've had some very horrible nervous breakdowns along those roads. And I study mental health. So like, good luck. But the thing that changed for me was becoming Pono. And that essentially means like, I am one with myself. I know what I want and I trust my gut when I feel it's acting. So for me, I found, keep it simple. What do you do? I write books. I speak on stages. Do I need a team for that? Yes. Do I really need a team for that? No. Why do I want a team? Well, that's ego for me. Because there's something about saying, oh, I lead a team of 25. Like that's ego. Well, great. Does that profit or does that neglect from the point? I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to own a corporation. I want to write books and speak on stages. Like that's it. You know what I mean? Like teach the people what they need to know. And for me, that just requires a lot of contractors. So when people are analyzing their teams and how to build it and what to do, recognize you don't need a giant team to succeed in many businesses nowadays. As long as you hire smart and you hire fast.
That just made me think about a recent podcast I was listening to with Seth Godin. And it was really interesting because he brought up the question of, are you a freelancer or are you an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm.
And really separating the two. And actually telling the audience, it's so important for you to get clear on who you are, what you have to offer, and what you need, because then you can sleep at night. Then you're not trying to be something you're not, or beating yourself up because you're not where you think you should be or have what you think you should be. And so that just made me, that brought me back to that idea where it's like, you got super clear on what you want to do, what your offering is to the world. And then you, according to how much support you need, you move from there.
Yeah, that's a beautiful recap. And it is about pivoting and embracing change. And it's, we had something totally different planned for this call. And I always think that's funny because but this is the beauty of entrepreneurship, right?
Exactly.
We create a business and we need to be able to pivot and change based on the moment with the strategy and intention, staying Pono. Mm-hmm. And for me, I jumped around an embarrassing amount. I didn't plan on being an entrepreneur, y'all. I was living on Social Security disability in the hospital. I thought my time was up. Nobody will hire somebody who's hospitalized 6 months a year. Like it ain't gonna happen. And if you do, you're just bad at business. Like that's not what you do. And so entrepreneurship was thrown on me. And the only skill I had, besides being the sick kid, was recruiting. I was a corporate recruiter for 10 years. And it was my jam, like the hustle, the sales, the energy, the projection. I don't know why I'm twisted, but I loved it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start a recruiting company. I did have a staff. I felt powerful, but I hated my life. And then I was like, I'm going to do sales training because, again, recruiting sales, if you do it right. If you don't, you're going to have a nightmare. But if you treat it like a sales pipeline, you're fine. And so I started doing sales training and sales consulting. And I just got to the point I was like, this doesn't matter. Like, I want to do work that matters. And then I went off on another tangent. Everyone kept asking me about social media. How'd you sell your book? Oh, only on social media. So I created an online program for social media. I'm like, I know I'm not going to be a social media teacher, but like, it's cool that like people ask and I have a product. And then it was very recently, it was in the last 2 years. I was like, I want to talk about the lessons from the hospital and apply it to business and what y'all need to know. So that way, when you do take your last breath, you're not wondering if you messed up your entire life, because I've been there. I've seen people pass away. I've been in those last few moments, and it's, what the dying have taught the living, like that's just Pono. And whatever happens with that, I don't necessarily know. I've got strategy, I've got plans, I've got books, I've got speeches, I've got the products and great hair right now. But when you're Pono with yourself, the decisions you need to make become very clear. So if you're in a place right now where you're watching this and you're like, I got this path, I got this path, I got this product, all these customers, all these employees, I don't know what to do. You're not Pono. Because when you are, decisions happen in an instant and they're decisions you're proud of.
Okay, so maybe let's talk a little bit more about how we actually get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So great question. You get there through everything you've done wrong in your life. That's the first thing. But our fears, the reason most people aren't Pono is because they're afraid of something. And so we got to boil it down to what are people's two primal fears. Everybody has this at any time. And everybody, as you're watching this, stop watching me, watch Brandy's face, because we're going to say two things and one's going to hit her a little differently. Everybody has two primary fears. Their first one is they're not enough, not good enough, smart enough. Yeah, see what just happened?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Old enough, enough of what they think society wants them to be, enough. And the second one is they're not loved or accepted. So they're seeking validation from some external force, whether that's a relationship, future relationship, family member. And when you get enough of one of those two, you become Pono. So when you come to terms with all of your not enoughs, and when you come to terms with all the ways that you're unloved and unaccepted, it just clicks.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yep. I knew that'd get you, girl.
Wait a minute. Okay, say that again. When you get enough of one of the two.
Yeah, when you come to terms with so let's go down a rabbit hole personally, okay? So, and I'll use me, that way I'm not picking on you too much, right? Mine for the longest time was unlovable. And I thought it was unlovable because of my health. And I thought nobody would want to date me because I was sick and they'd have to bury their girlfriend. And like, how do they tell their parents? You know, is any guy ever going to be cut out for life in the hospitals? So mine was a very deep cut of I'm not lovable. Like I'm a, you know, you look at Darwin and stuff, like, dude, I'm the weak species. Like I gotta go. You know what I mean? Is there a place for me in the world? And I tied my identity into that thought.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had done is I started, sounds stupid, but if it gets the results, do stupid things. I started writing lists of everything I love about myself, and I'd write them daily, and everything I'm grateful for, and like little tiny things. I love my wrists. Look how tiny they are. Like they're so cute. And you know, it starts off with, I love the shape of my wrist, like this little bone right here. It's so, I think it's cute. And it starts off with like the little bone in your wrist. And then it goes to, you know what? Enough people bought my book that like clearly they bought a part of me, and that means I'm loved. You know, and then it goes into even a bigger thought. You know, it's like, wow, people book me to speak on their stages. You know, you don't do that to people you don't love. And then over time, I was like, wow, people love me. And it sounds silly and ridiculous. And this is human nature we're working with. So we are silly and ridiculous. And then when I accepted that, like, I'm loved as a person, whoever and whatever I am in that day, in that moment, the way my thoughts come together, the way I speak, the way I connect with others, I'm worthy of love. And for me, that was a mental breakdown because it never clicked. And then once I realized, you know, I've got enough love internally and external validation, it became Pono. You don't have to search for it. Does that make sense? Is that what that okay?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it happens.
And that allowed you the freedom, the space to then explore.
Yeah. Because when you get things right with yourself and your version of not enoughness, because that's where you light up, girl.
Mm-hmm.
When I said not enough, yeah, you see that.
Yeah.
And we can do a demo too, but like when you get your feelings of enough and you come to terms, I call it come into terms with your demons. For faith-based people listening, it's called choose your amen. Are you going to listen to that side of the story, or are you going to listen to all the ways you are enough? Because you can make that choice, just like we talked about in the beginning. Your brain's taking information, you're filtering it. What's the choice?
I love how it always comes back to that. No matter.
So brilliant.
So brilliant. Oh, okay. So I feel like this might be a good segue to talk about your new book coming up. Because again, it's an important topic where it's like, once you get Pono, you get clear about that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do that's going to make a difference in this world so that you leave here with no regrets, that you feel complete?
Yeah. So I challenge that in that we already are complete. And then we can take on additional things. And, you know, I hate the thing like I'm striving for my potential. No, you're at your potential. It's like, what do you, because the second you get to a certain level, you're going to want the next level. So it's how do you be fulfilled at any level, right? So the next book, and it was interesting for all of you who are struggling with indecisions and stuck states, to talk about the magic of Pono. Brandy and I figured this out earlier, right before we hit record. She had asked me, what's the title of your book? And I forgot I gave her an outdated bio. For the longest time, it was called Neuroscience is the New Competitive Advantage, How to Help Teens Get Unstuck. Does that sound very Pono based on my personality? No. And so she asked me, she's like, hey, is this the same title? And I go, oh my word, no. And I was like, I've been thinking about changing it. And then I did a quick check-in with myself. This was off air about 3 minutes ago, y'all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, that's not the title. It's What the Living Can Learn from the Dying About Leadership. And it just, you make decisions like that when you know what your worth is and how to leverage it. So that's just an example of how quickly, when you're Pono, things come together for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So the next book, you know the title, hope you like it. You can text the word inspire to 66866, and that's where you can get the updates. So what I mean by that is every week I write a blog, and it's not your traditional blog, it's a blog through an email. And I share lessons of what it was like to live inside hospitals, and I draw the parallel to what it is that entrepreneurs need to get in their days today. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, it'll say, you know, like I'll talk about the day that I always have a suitcase, it's blue. I just looked at it and it's packed. It's fully packed right now for when I need to go to the hospital. I don't know when it's going to be. It could be later tonight. It could be 3 weeks from now. It could be 6 months from now. I don't know when I'm going in, but I know it's nice to have a suitcase ready. So if I do start coughing up blood, which is called hemoptysis, and my lung function goes down radically, I can just grab that suitcase or tell the ER, the ambulance, to just, hey, grab my blue suitcase. And so on one hand, it's like, wow, that's a really interesting story. On the other hand, let's take this to your lives. What is your business equivalent of that suitcase? And what are you always prepared for? Because you don't know when your business is going to hit a rapid change that comes out of nowhere. Are you even prepared for it? So that's the entire concept of the book, is how do we take the most dire of situations and put those principles and applicability into our businesses?
That just, oh my gosh, there's just so much.
You're so sweet.
Well, my first thought is just like, with what's happening right now, it's like how many of us, and first of all, you can't be prepared for something like this, but you can be prepared for if something happens, like you're saying, the suitcase. So like how many of us are just going through the motions and not thinking like, well, what if, or just in case, you know, I feel like, and maybe this is just a San Diego thing, but you know, it's almost ingrained in us to constantly think on the positive side and don't think of anything negative, because you'll draw that into your awareness. And but it's important to be cautious. Is that a good way of putting it? Just be aware.
I have a weird thought on this. Work with me, girl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in positivity, because at the root of it, which sounds funny, like I'm a motivational speaker. It was funny. One time my fiance, it was New Year's Eve. You guys are going to love this. It was New Year's Eve and we were walking around and he was talking about all of his New Year's resolutions. You know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And mind you, I jokingly pick on him, but he's more successful than probably this entire room combined. So it gives me plight to pick on him. And what was so funny about the thing is, as he's talking, he goes, what about your resolutions? I'm like, yeah, I have goals, but like most people who make resolutions, many of them, they're going to die this year. And he's like, don't put that in your next speech. That's not motivation. I'm like, actually, it's pretty inspiring, because the reality is, watch this. The reality is, how many times somebody says, you know, affirmations, right? We talked about this earlier, my wrists, cool. If I were to start off with, I am the perfect ideal body weight and I love my porcelain skin, and that's my affirmation, and I'm trying to convince myself it's true, I'm basically just trying to bullshit myself, which isn't Pono. So I'm not going to get a result from that. So the power of positive thinking has such a horrible rap, in my opinion, today, because we're lying to ourselves, trying to get the thing we want rather than just coming to terms with it. So yeah, if you're overly prepared and you're optimistic about your business, great job. You need to be optimistic. And you also need to, it's a balance, right? And you also need to realize 4% of businesses succeed to hit $1 million in revenue. So only 4% will hit $1 million in revenue. Statistically, I think 83% of businesses will be out of business in 5 years. I'm not saying this to be negative. Watch this. I'm not saying this to be negative. What I am saying is that if at the core of who you are, you believe you want to be in the $1 Million Club, or you believe that you want your work to change lives, then you owe it to yourself, your customers, your family to think of the worst case scenario and be prepared for it. Because blind optimism is not going to get you through the tough times like COVID. You can't say like, oh, I don't believe I'll get COVID, and then like you never get it, right? Like if you still go to the party and you hang out with people who have COVID, dude, it's going to happen. Be prepared. But don't sulk in the preparation and the anxiety part. Say, this could very well be my reality, and I'm prepared. If I get COVID, here's my plan. You know, if I wind up hospitalized or whatever the thing is for you. But if you're trying to be positive and you're just lying to yourself, you're like taking a step backward, well-intentioned step backward, but still backward.
Right. And we're all about moving forward. That is the only direction.
We got places to go.
Yes. Places to go, lives to change, things to do. Wow. Okay. What do you want to leave us with?
Oh, we gotta leave.
We can stay here all day.
Yeah, like I cleared my schedule for this. No, yeah. So first of all, I adore you. Let's be friends forever.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you guys like this stuff, so I'm gonna do 2 leave takeaways. Okay. And we're actually gonna tie it back to the questionnaire you gave me, which, whoa, who knew? So the first one, y'all, if you like this stuff, the best way, again, text the word inspire to 66866. You're going to get that new blog every single week, and you can opt out at any time, although most people don't because it's so good. And from there, you'll also get at the bottom of every blog is a call to action, so to speak, and you can get free classes. And one of the free classes is literally that mind map that I talk about, the 2 million bits one, and it's the full detail, absolutely free, no charge. Second of all, I'm going to leave with the quote that you had asked me. My favorite quote, and it's actually the opening quote in the book, and it goes, "A bird sitting on a branch is never afraid of it breaking because her trust isn't in the branch, but in her own wings." And I don't know about you, but I just drew this parallel. It seems Pono, doesn't it?
Yes.
I never connected the dots until just now. So
that's crazy.
That's the power of it.
How do you get your book?
So there's a secret way where you can get it. You just pay shipping. And that's on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram and you click the link in my bio, about once a month for like 2 or 3 days, I'll just put it up there and then I'll take it down right away. Other than that, just go to Amazon. It's like $20. But if you just want to pay shipping and handling, just follow on Insta and you'll get like little sneak peeks and it's fun.
Nice. So of course, right now there's probably no live events, or there are no live events, but is there anything you have coming up where we can hear you speak more about this, or anything coming up in the near future?
I'm doing a ton of webinars. What's interesting is many speakers right now are out of business, and I respect that. It is hard to position and transition that position, whatever. I promise I speak. But a lot of mine are actually still on at full fee. And so what's great about that is it's just Zoom. Yeah. So I don't have to wear real pants. But yeah, those are all, unfortunately, they're closed to the public. But those classes and those emails, it's a lot of recordings similar to this, topics on embracing change, our ultimate fears and insecurities, mental mapping, combined with hospital stories. And so you guys can get those all for free on my website. It's like klynelsbury.com/online training. You'll just get tons of free stuff. So it's like you're at the live event, it's just a replay, but that's usually the best way.
Perfect. And just so the audience knows, if you're just tuning in with us, all of this will be in the email that follows. So there'll be clickable links directly to Klyn's Instagram, to her website, and then of course the number to text and the word to text in the email so you guys can stay connected. Yes. Okay, so I end every episode with this because this is the Passionpreneur series. So it just made sense. Have you found your passion?
How do I define my passion?
Have you found it? Although that's a good question too. I might ask that
Ooh.
one next time.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. I say that hesitantly because passions, one thing that I've found in the thread of my life is I'm incredibly passionate about the one thing we haven't talked about, which is adventure, right?
Mm,
I'm the kind of person where if there is no problems, I'm gonna make up a problem till I can solve it, right? And so it's that relentless pursuit of the adventure and the unknown. And so if I had to say, I go tent camping, and like no electricity, no running water, and a fire starter, like that's my jam. Then I go hike up a mountain, like you know, I became a Zumba instructor on a whim because sounds like a good adventure to say you're a Zumba instructor. So I do all these weird things that don't have anything to do with my brand at any given point because it's that relentless pursuit of adventure. So that's what I'm passionate about.
oh, I love that.
Thanks. Great question, by the way.
I feel like somehow that should be a part of your bio or your tagline or headline or something, maybe on LinkedIn.
It's just one of those things that's not quite relevant, but people love, like, what?
I love it. I love it. It's funny you mentioned Zumba. 2 years ago, I just on a whim, I opened up my Instagram and saw two people dancing. And if you know how Instagram works, it usually shows you things that you like or something similar. And I had never followed anyone who was dancing. So I still don't know how to this day it ended up in my feed. But this couple was dancing and I was just like mesmerized. What are they doing? I have to learn this. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to search for it. I reposted it on my Facebook and I'm like, whoever out there knows what dance this couple is doing, please tell me so I can find it. And it turned out to be Latin dance. It was bachata and salsa. And I immediately, like within 2 days, I found a dance studio, a teacher, and I had joined a team. And it changed my life. And it was just like that for me was the start of, for me, like my career and everything I followed. Taking that chance, deciding to go to that first class, scared out of my mind, not having danced at all. And then within a year, I'm teaching classes. I'm leading
Yay!
workshops. I'm like, oh my God, this makes no sense. But I was able, but by doing that, by saying yes and taking that chance, it opened up so much more for me. And kind of, going back to the question, are you enough? It started to work within me like, well, people are showing up to the class. They're having fun. I guess this is working.
I love it. Congratulations. I'm going to have to stalk more of your stuff to see
Yeah.
some of these classes. Good for
But yeah,
you, girl.
it's just so important to have other things that you're passionate about that drive you, and just to see it. It amazes me how it affects other parts of our lives as well.
Totally. Totally. And I love that. I'm so going to stalk you. I want to see the videos.
When all this is done.
Yep. Done. Sold.
Kaylin, thank you so much. Again, I cannot tell you how much it's meant to me. I mean, we pulled this together fast. It took me 3 months to plan this entire series, and we got this done in like a week and a half.
Well, I always say, and like it's a big part of the lessons is I say a sense of urgency is the key to success. Everything now, nothing later.
Yeah.
So like if it takes me 2 weeks to get back to somebody, I don't want to get back to you. Like,
You made it happen.
yeah. So thank you, and I love what you're doing. I love this series, and I think that startuppreneurs, if we call it that, startuppreneurs, um, they need love because this is not an easy time. And if you guys are going through that right now, where you just had your mental breakdown, it does get better. It does.
Thank you, my dear. All right, you guys, I hope you found as much, if not more, value out of this than I did, because I got a ton. And I am pumped. I am ready to go, continue my day, and make things happen. So, and I wish that and more for you. So again, thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, audience, for participating, for showing up for another episode of the Passionpreneur series. Please stay connected. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Everything's going to be listed in the email and on the website as well. And we have so much more coming for you. So stay tuned. And I will see you virtually soon. And we're going to be connected. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.